Hello, and thank you for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. A compromise over the Omona outpost and the controversial settlement bill has been found. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Jewish Home Party leader Naftali Bennett met earlier this morning to discuss the raising of the Jewish settlement of Omona, set for December 25th. The originally proposed legislation was posed to the Knesset in two versions. One where the Omona Settlement, already destined by the Israeli High Court for demolition, would be retroactively protected, and another where Omona was not included at all. The two clauses protecting Omona, clauses 7 and 10, are said to have been removed from the legislation in support of the second version of the bill. But further compromises have been made on behalf of the residents of the settlement outpost. The residents of Omona will reportedly be given new temporary housing administered by Israel's custodian for absentees' property. The Omona residents will also be financially compensated. The agreement in its currently proposed form was proposed by Avichai Mandelblit, Israel's Attorney General. Residents of the Omona settlement reject any version of the plan where they must be evacuated, and are calling upon everyone they can to help protest the move. Israeli forces, fearing a violent scenario similar to one posed in 2006 over very similar reasons, will likely declare the area a closed military zone and will keep people away. United States Secretary of State John Kerry slammed Israel's continued settlement construction, saying Israel is headed to a pace of danger and an erosion of the chances for a real and lasting Israeli-Palestinian peace by virtue of the continued settlement process. Speaking at the Saban Forum in Washington, the outgoing Secretary of State pushed back against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who spoke just 2 hours before Kerry at the same forum. Netanyahu told the crowd via live satellite hookup that settlement activity is not the reason for the absence of peace. Netanyahu pointed to Palestinian President Abbas's outright refusal to ever recognize Israel as but one reason for the failure in the peace process. But Kerry didn't agree with him. Kerry said, "Let's not kid ourselves here. You can't just wipe it away by saying it doesn't have an impact. It has an impact." Netanyahu continued, however, to stress that the Palestinians' refusal to negotiate despite being invited hundreds of times was the main reason for the continued conflict. He stressed that Israel is willing to negotiate while the Palestinians are, quote, rejectionists, and stated that once again, he is prepared to stop everything, come to any country that invites him, and meet with the Palestinians for negotiations right away and without preconditions. Less than half of Americans are in favor of President Barack Obama backing or sponsoring a UN resolution imposing sanctions on Israel over its settlement building activities in the West Bank. The poll conducted for the Brookings Institute found that 40% of Americans either strongly or somewhat strongly support this. 23% of Americans neither oppose nor support, and 33% either strongly or somewhat strongly oppose such a resolution. The split is more pronounced between parties. 65% of Democrats either strongly or somewhat strongly support an anti-Israel UN action, whereas only 16% of Republicans and 28% of independents show support. In contrast, Republicans are more than 5 times as likely to either strongly or somewhat strongly oppose a UN move than the Democrats, by a margin of 57% to 11%. 76% of Americans across party lines agree, however, that Israel is a strategic asset to the US, but at the same time, 55% of Democrats say Israel is also a burden. Another win in the fight against the international boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel has been gained, this time in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The Canadian province is set to reject the BDS campaign outright, citing it as thinly veiled anti-Semitism, which threatens and silences Jewish people and students. The vote to reject differential treatment of the Jewish state, including BDS, has won 49-5. All 5 of the votes opposing the protection against BDS came from Canada's New Democratic Party. This is hardly the first vote against BDS and pro-freedom of debate and trade, etc. 6 months ago, a bill was proposed that would aid the BDS movement and was shut down by a vote of 39-18, for example. Canadian legislator Gila Martow, a key sponsor for the motion to fight BDS, compared the anti-Israel and anti-Semitic boycott movement to the Ku Klux Klan, saying, quote, "We would not be here supporting the KKK on our campuses. So why are we allowing the BDS movement and other anti-Jewish and anti-Israel organizations to have demonstrations and use our campuses, which are taxpayer funded? That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.